It was 4 a.m. The street was quiet. No cars, no people, only darkness and cold air. Inside a small old house, a black veteran was sleeping on his couch. The TV was off. The lights were dim. The house was simple, clean, and silent. Then suddenly, bang! A loud noise shook the walls. He opened his eyes slowly. Another sound followed. Heavy boots. Fast steps. Men shouting outside. He stood up, confused. He looked at the clock. 4:02 a.m. Before he could move, bright lights flashed through the windows. Red, blue, red, blue. The house was surrounded. Outside, police cars blocked the street. Officers with guns stood behind doors and trees. Some neighbors opened their curtains, watching in fear. A loud voice shouted through a speaker. "Open the door. Police!" The veteran froze. His heart started beating fast. He had done nothing wrong. He took a deep breath and walked slowly to the door. He did not run. He did not hide. He spoke calmly. "Sir, what is this about?" No answer. Instead, the voice became louder. "Open the door now." His hands began to shake. He raised them anyway. "I am coming," he said. Before he could reach the lock, crash! The door was kicked open. Wood broke. Glass fell. The sound echoed through the house. Police rushed inside with guns raised. On the ground, "Don't move. Hands up." He dropped to his knees. His palms touched the cold floor. "I am not armed," he said quietly. An officer pushed him hard. His face hit the floor. Outside, a neighbor whispered, "What did he do?" Another neighbor shook their head. "I don't know. He's always quiet." Inside the house, chaos filled the air. Drawers opened. Chairs moved. Boots walked everywhere. One officer searched the living room. Another watched him closely, finger on the trigger. The veteran stayed still. He did not fight. He did not shout. He only asked one question. "Do you have a warrant?" The officer laughed. "You asked too many questions," he said. The veteran closed his eyes. This was not new to him. He had felt fear before. Real fear. Not like this. Not in his own home. The camera moved slowly around the room. On the wall was an old photo frame, half covered by dust. It showed a younger man in uniform, but the photo was not clear. No one noticed it. Yet, the officers kept searching. One walked toward a chair in the corner. On that chair was a dark jacket, folded neatly. The officer picked it up. At first, he did not look closely. He dropped it back. Nothing special. The veteran watched quietly. His breathing was slow, controlled, trained. The police did not know this. They did not know who he was. They only saw a black man on the floor at 4 a.m. Something was wrong. Very wrong. And everyone in that room felt it. The mistake had already been made. But the truth was just beginning to show. And nothing would be the same after this night. The room stayed quiet. No one spoke. The senior officer still held the jacket in his hands. The symbol stared back at him. Dark, heavy, serious. The veteran was still on his knees. His hands were open. His head was raised now. His face showed no fear, only control. The officer asked again, slower this time. "Where did you get this jacket?" The veteran took a breath. Not a deep breath. Not a weak one. A trained breath. "I earned it," he said again. The words were simple, but they hit hard. The officer looked at the names stitched inside the jacket. He read it quietly. His hands began to shake. The other officers noticed the change. Something was different now. The way the senior officer stood. The way his voice lowered. The way his eyes avoided the veteran's face. He cleared his throat. "Stand him up," he said. Not a command. A request. Two officers helped the veteran to his feet. This time, they were gentle. The veteran stood straight. Even after the push. Even after the floor. Even after the broken door. His back was strong. Years of discipline lived in his body. The senior officer looked at him closely. "Sir," he said, "what is your name?" The veteran answered calmly. Then came silence again. The officer stepped back. He removed his hat. No one had ever seen him do that before. "Is this real?" One officer whispered. The senior officer nodded. "He's real," he said. "Very real." The veteran looked around the room. The broken door. The mess. The guns. He spoke softly. "You came fast," he said. "Just like you were trained." The officer looked at him. "You were trained too," the veteran continued. "But in a different way. Noangya. No shouting. Just truth. The officer swallowed. He asked carefully, "Were you special forces?" The veteran did not smile. He did not brag. He simply nodded. Yes. The room felt smaller. He walked slowly to the wall. He pointed at the old photo frame. "That's me," he said. The officer walked closer. The dust-covered photo showed a younger man. Stronger. Focused. In uniform. Different time. Different life. The veteran began to speak. Not loud. Not fast. "I joined when I was young," he said. "I wanted to serve. I wanted respect." The officers listened. "I trained harder than most," he continued. "I stayed quiet. I followed orders." He paused. "I was sent where others would not go. No details. No names. But everyone understood. I did things I cannot talk about," he said. "I lost friends." His voice did not break. But the pain was there. "When I came home," he said, "there were no cameras. No welcome. No parade. Just silence." He looked down at the jacket. "This is all I kept," he said. One officer looked ashamed. Another looked confused. "Why are you alone?" someone asked. The veteran answered honestly. "Because noise reminds me of war." The room went quiet again. The senior officer took a step forward. "Sir," he said, "we received a call." The veteran nodded. "I know. They said there was a threat." The veteran nodded again. "I know." The officer hesitated. "They said you were dangerous." The veteran looked at him. His eyes were calm. "I was," he said. "But for this country." The words stayed in the air. Heavy. Outside, neighbors leaned closer to their windows. They saw the police standing still now. No guns raised. No shouting. Inside, the power had shifted. The veteran walked to the broken door. He looked at the night sky. "Every mission starts with fear," he said, "but ends with truth." The senior officer lowered his head. "We made a mistake," he said quietly. The veteran turned back. "This is not the first one," he said, "and it will not be the last." He picked up the jacket, held it in his hands. "This jacket did not protect me tonight," he said, "but it reminded you who I am." The officer nodded slowly. Respect had arrived, but too late. The veteran looked around his home, then at the officers. "You came into my house like enemies," he said, "but you stand here now like students." No one spoke. The lesson was clear, and the night was not over yet. Because what caused this raid? Who made that call? And why this veteran was targeted? Those answers were still waiting. And when they came out, they would shock everyone. The senior officer stepped away from the broken door. His voice was calm now. Too calm. "We need to understand something," he said. The veteran stood near the wall. The jacket was in his hands. Folded. Protected. "Why are we here?" the officer asked. The veteran did not answer right away. He looked at the officers. Their faces were different now. Less anger. More fear. "You tell me," the veteran said quietly. The officer nodded. "We got a call," he said. "An emergency call." He paused. "They said a man inside this house was armed. Dangerous. Unstable." The veteran's eyes narrowed slightly. "And you believed it," he said. The officer looked down. "We followed procedure." The veteran gave a slow smile. "I know that word," he said. "I live by it." One officer stepped forward. "Sir, the caller said you were threatening people." The veteran shook his head. "No one comes to my house," he said. "I don't even go outside much." The room felt heavy again. Another officer checked his tablet. He frowned. "The call was anonymous," he said. The senior officer's jaw tightened. That word carried weight. The veteran walked slowly to the window. He looked outside. Across the street, a curtain moved. He pointed. "Someone there," he said. "They watch me." The officer followed his finger. A neighbor quickly closed the curtain. Silence. The veteran spoke again. "This started weeks ago," he said. The officers turned to him. Strange looks. Whispers. Phones raised when I walked by. He paused. "I am quiet. I keep to myself." He turned back. "But quiet scares people." The senior officer nodded slowly. "You think a neighbor called?" he asked. The veteran did not answer. He only said one thing. "I think someone lied." The officers exchanged looks. The tablet officer spoke again. "The caller said you had weapons." The veteran smiled slightly. "If I did," he said, "you wouldn't be standing here." No one laughed. Because they knew it was true. The senior officer raised his hand. "We searched the house," he said. No weapons found. He hesitated. No illegal ones. The veteran met his eyes. I know the law, he said. The officer believed him. Outside, another police car pulled up. A man in a suit stepped out. Internal affairs. The mood changed again. The suit entered the house. He looked at the damage. The door. The floor. The faces. Explain, he said. The senior officer spoke carefully. We acted on a false report. The man in the suit looked at the veteran. Sir, he said, were you threatened tonight? The veteran nodded. Yes. By who? The man asked. The veteran looked at the broken door. By fear, he said. The suit did not understand. But the officers did. The suit checked the call logs. His fingers moved fast. His face changed. The call came from this block, he said. The room went silent. The veteran closed his eyes. So close, he whispered. The suit continued. Multiple calls, he said, over the last month. The officers looked shocked. Someone has been watching you, the suit said. The veteran nodded. I know. The senior officer clenched his fist. This was not random, he said. No, the veteran replied. It was planned. The suit looked up. The caller used words, he said. Specific words. What words? The officer asked. The suit read from the screen. Suspicious. Aggressive. Military style. The veteran laughed softly. They saw the way I walk, he said. The way I stand. He looked at his hands. Training never leaves you. The room felt cold. The senior officer looked angry now. Someone used our fear, he said. The veteran looked at him. And my skin, he said. No one argued. The suit closed the tablet. We will find the caller, he said. The veteran shook his head. Will you? He asked. The suit hesitated. The veteran continued. Or will this disappear like everything else? The suit had no answer. The senior officer stepped forward. I will not let this go, he said. The veteran studied his face, then nodded once. Outside, the sun began to rise. Light touched the broken door. Neighbors slowly stepped outside. Whispers filled the street. The veteran stood tall. No cuffs, no chance, but still judged. The senior officer spoke one last time. Sir, he said, we owe you answers. The veteran looked at the street. Truth always comes out, he said. But first it hurts. And somewhere nearby, the person who made that call was watching, waiting, hoping they would never be found. But they were wrong, because this lie had started something that could not be stopped. The house no longer felt like a crime scene. It felt like a courtroom. No one moved. No one spoke. The broken door stayed open, letting cold morning air inside. The veteran stood near the wall, calm and straight, the jacket resting on the table now. The SEAL's symbol faced upward. Everyone could see it. The senior officer stared at it like it might disappear if he looked away. But didn't. It stayed there. Clear. Undeniable. He cleared his throat. Step back, he told the other officers. Not loud. Not sharp. They obeyed. That alone changed everything. The veteran noticed it. So now you see, he said quietly. The officer looked at him. Yes, he replied. And we should have seen earlier. One young officer spoke, his voice shaking. Sir, is that real? The senior officer nodded once. Yes, he said. It's real. The veteran walked closer to the table. He picked up the jacket slowly, like it was heavy, not in weight, in memory. I don't wear it often, he said. It brings back things. He paused. Things people don't want to hear. The officers listened, even the ones near the door. I didn't keep trophies, he continued. I didn't keep weapons. He touched the symbol with 2 fingers. I kept this, he said, so I wouldn't forget who I was. The senior officer swallowed hard. How long did you serve? He asked. The veteran looked at the ceiling. Long enough, he said. Too long. No one pushed for more. They didn't need to. The silence spoke for him. The senior officer stepped forward. He stood at attention. Full posture. Full respect. Every officer saw it and followed. Boots clicked together. Hands straight. Spines tall. The veteran did not react. He had seen this before, in places far from home. The senior officer spoke. Sir, he said, this house should never have been entered like this. The veteran looked at the broken door. No, he agreed. It shouldn't have. One officer lowered his head. Another wiped his face. The mood was heavy now. Not fear. Regret. The senior officer continued. You were targeted. he said. The veteran nodded. Yes, we know that now, the officer said. The veteran looked at him. Knowing is easy, he replied. Doing better is hard. The officer accepted that. He turned to the others. Holster your weapons, he said. One by one they did. The sound was soft. Final. The veteran breathed out slowly. The senior officer looked back at him. I owe you an apology, he said. The veteran studied his face. Not angry. Not proud. Just tired. Apologies don't fix doors, he said. The officer nodded. No, he agreed. But they start something. The veteran walked toward the window. Outside, the neighbors were watching openly now. They saw officers standing still. No shouting. No cuffs. No guns. The veteran spoke without turning around. They were scared, he said. So were you. The officer answered honestly. Yes. The veteran continued. Fear makes people act fast, he said. But it also makes them blind. He turned back. You didn't see a man, he said. You saw a story you already believed. The officer closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them. You're right, he said. The jacket rested between them. A bridge. A reminder. The senior officer took out his radio. Cancel all further action, he said. This scene is secure. The radio crackled. Copy, came the response. The officer lowered the radio. He looked at the veteran again. What do you want now, he asked. The veteran thought for a moment. Answers, he said. And my door fixed. A small pause. And respect, he added. The officer nodded. You will have it, he said. The veteran picked up the jacket again. He folded it carefully. I didn't survive what I survived, he said. To be afraid in my own home. The officers felt that. Every word. The senior officer stepped aside. The path to the door was clear now. The veteran walked toward it. The morning light hit his face. He stopped. Turned back. This jacket made you panic, he said. Yes, the officer replied. The veteran nodded. It shouldn't take this, he said. For you to see me. The officer had no answer. Because there was none. Outside, the street was quiet again. But something had changed. Not just in that house. Not just in that moment. The silence had taught a lesson. A powerful one. And the next truth would be even harder to face. The sun was higher now. Morning light filled the room, showing everything clearly. The broken door. The marks on the floor. The faces of the officers. Nothing could hide anymore. The veteran stood near the doorway, holding the jacket close to his chest. Not like armor. Like memory. The senior officer took a slow step forward. Sir, he said, this scene is over. The veteran looked at him. For you, he replied. For me, it just began. Those words landed hard. The officer nodded. I understand, he said. Behind him, younger officers whispered to each other. They were no longer looking at the veteran with suspicion. They were looking at him with questions. One officer finally spoke. Sir, why didn't you say who you were? The veteran turned to him. I did, he said calmly. You just didn't hear me. The officer looked down. The senior officer raised his hand. Enough, he said. This man owes us nothing. Silence returned. The veteran walked slowly back into the room. He stopped near the wall where the photo hung. He took it down. The glass was cracked from a shock of the door breaking. He wiped it gently with his sleeve. This was taken before my last mission, he said. The officers gathered closer. Not crowding. Listening. I was younger, he continued. I believed things would be different when I came back. He paused. They weren't. One officer asked softly, why did you stay quiet all these years? The veteran looked at him. Because loud people don't last long, he said. Quiet ones survive. The senior officer felt something shift inside him. This was not a suspect. This was a witness. To war. To loss. To a system that failed him. The officer cleared his throat. Sir, he said, this raid will be reported as a mistake. The veteran laughed once. Short. Dry. They always are, he said. The officer accepted that. But this time, he added, names will be attached. The veteran raised an eyebrow. That's new, he said. I know, the officer replied. And that's why it matters. Outside, more neighbors had gathered. They were no longer whispering. They were watching closely. The veteran noticed them. He stepped closer to the door. They're waiting for a story, he said. They already wrote one in their heads. The officer followed his gaze. Yes, he said, but now they'll hear the truth. The veteran turned to him. Will they? He asked. The officer did not answer right away. Then he said they will today. One officer brought a clipboard. Another brought a phone. They began documenting everything. Photos, statements, damage. The power in the room had changed. The veteran was no longer being questioned. He was being consulted. The senior officer asked, "Would you like medical help?" The veteran shook his head. "I've had worse mornings," he said. The officer winced. "I believe you," he replied. A young officer stepped forward again. "I just want to say, I'm sorry," he said. The veteran looked at him closely. "You weren't in charge," he said. "But you still came in with a gun." The officer swallowed. "Yes, sir." The veteran placed a hand on his shoulder. "Learn," he said. "That's how this becomes worth something." The officer nodded. Tears sat in his eyes. The senior officer watched this quietly. Then he spoke. "Sir," he said to the veteran, "we will fix your door today." The veteran nodded. "Good," he said, "because I sleep light." A small pause. "And I don't like surprises." The officers understood that. The veteran looked around his home one last time. "I built a quiet life," he said. "No trouble. No noise." He faced the officer again. "And trouble still found me." The officer replied honestly. "Yes. But it won't end here," he added. The veteran studied him. "You sure?" he asked. The officer stood straight. "Yes," he said. "Because now it's on record." The veteran nodded slowly. "That changes things," he said. Outside, a reporter car stopped at the end of the street. Cameras came out. The neighbors noticed. The officer cursed under his breath. The veteran smiled faintly. "So the story begins," he said. The officer looked worried. "What story?" he asked. The veteran answered calmly. "The one you can't control." He stepped into the light. The jacket visible. The symbol clear. The neighbors gasped. Whispers turned into shock. The veteran stood tall. Not angry. Not afraid. Seen. And in that moment, the power had fully shifted. Not to the police. Not to the crowd. But to the truth. And the truth was finally ready to speak out loud. The street no longer felt quiet. People stood outside now. Some with phones. Some with questions. The veteran stood at his doorway, the jacket folded over his arm. The symbol was clear to everyone. No hiding. No guessing. A reporter stepped forward. "Sir, can we ask?" The senior officer raised his hand. "No questions yet," he said. The veteran looked at him. "It's okay," he said. "They should hear this." The officer hesitated, then nodded. The veteran stepped onto the porch. Morning sun hit his face. For the first time, people saw him clearly. Not as a rumor, not as a threat, as a man. A neighbor spoke loudly. "Why did the police come?" The veteran answered himself. "Because someone lied," he said. The crowd grew quiet. The reporter lifted the mic. "Who lied?" she asked. The veteran looked across the street. At the houses. At the windows. "Someone close," he said. A murmur moved through the crowd. The senior officer stepped forward. "We have evidence," he said. "The calls came from this block." Gasps. One woman covered her mouth. Another man stepped back. The veteran continued. "They said I was dangerous," he said. "They said I was unstable." He lifted his hands slightly. "These hands serve this country," he said. "They save lives." Silence. A man in the crowd shouted. "He's a veteran?" "Yes," the officer replied. "And more than that." The veteran did not like the attention. But he did not stop. "I lived quietly," he said. "I kept to myself." He paused. But quiet scared someone. The reporter asked, "Why would anyone do this?" The veteran thought for a moment. "Fear," he said, "and stories people tell themselves." The officer added in bias. The word hung in the air. The veteran looked at him. Thankful. A neighbor spoke again. "I saw him every day," she said. "He never bothered anyone." The veteran nodded. "Thank you," he said. Another neighbor whispered. "I thought he was strange." The veteran turned. "I am," he said calmly. "War does that." The crowd felt it. The reporter lowered her mic. This was no longer news. It was truth. The senior officer spoke again. "The person who made the call will be questioned," he said. The veteran shook his head. "That's not enough," he said. The officer looked at him. "They need to know what they almost caused." The officer nodded slowly. "You're right." The veteran stepped forward. "If I had moved wrong," he said, "this story would end different." The crowd went silent. Everyone understood. The officer spoke firmly. This should never happen again. The veteran looked at him. Say that to my door, he said. The officer felt that. The veteran turned to the crowd. I don't want anger, he said. I want awareness. He held up the jacket. This didn't make me safe, he said. It just made you listen. A tear rolled down a woman's face. The reporter whispered, thank you. The veteran nodded. Inside the house, officers finished writing reports. Names were added. Times were recorded. The truth was becoming permanent. The senior officer returned to the porch. Sir, he said, we found the caller. The crowd leaned in. The veteran did not smile. Who, he asked. The officer lowered his voice. A neighbor, he said. Someone you waved to. The veteran closed his eyes. That's how it usually is, he said. The officer continued. They said they felt threatened. The veteran laughed softly. I never spoke to them, he said. The officer looked ashamed. They saw your jacket once, he said. The veteran opened his eyes. When? He asked. At the trash bins, the officer replied. The veteran nodded slowly. So they saw strength, he said, and called it danger. No one argued. The officer took a step closer. They will be charged, he said. The veteran looked at him. Will that teach them? He asked. The officer had no answer. The veteran turned back to the crowd. Justice is more than punishment, he said. It's learning. The crowd was silent. The reporter turned off her camera. The veteran stepped back into his home. The door frame stood broken, but something else stood strong. His voice. His truth. And now, everyone had heard it. But the final question remained. What happens next? The streets slowly returned to normal. Police cars drove away one by one. The reporter packed her camera. Neighbors stepped back into their homes. But the veteran stayed at his doorway. The broken door leaned against the frame. Morning light passed through the cracks. He did not rush to fix it. Some things needed time. The senior officer stood nearby. No radio. No commands. Just a man. Sir, he said, I want to thank you. The veteran looked at him. For what? He asked. For not letting anger win, the officer replied. The veteran nodded. Anger is easy, he said. Control takes work. The officer respected that. Workers arrived later that morning. They measured the door, took photos, promised repairs. The veteran watched quietly. A young neighbor walked up slowly. She looked nervous. I'm sorry, she said. I believe the rumors. The veteran looked at her gently. Belief is powerful, he said. So is truth. She nodded. I won't forget this, she said. The veteran hoped she meant it. Inside the house, quiet returned. But it was different now, louder in meaning. The veteran sat on the couch. The jacket lay beside him. He picked it up, folded it one last time, then placed it in a box. He closed the lid. I don't need you to be seen anymore, he said softly. That chapter was complete. Later that day, a letter arrived. Official. Stamped. An apology from a department. A promise of change. Training. Review. Accountability. The veteran read it carefully, then placed it on the table.